Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Air and Addiction. I'm your host, Dr. Romas Buivydas, and we are here again at New England Recovery Center, Barris Center itself, and we have a very special kind of segment today on something that I think a lot of you folks will be very interested in hearing. And so I'm going to introduce my guest today, and her name is Norah Lasora, and she is the clinical supervisor at the Young Adult Program here in Westborough, Massachusetts. So welcome, Norah.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm really looking forward to this episode because we have a lot of stuff that I would love to hear about. I'm sure folks would like to hear about it. So let's get started.
Sure.
First, I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself. I know I gave a quick introduction, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty stuff here.
Sure. So I'm the clinical supervisor at the Young Adult Program, which is on campus, and our program is long-term residential, and we host 18 to 25-year-old males who are in recovery from substance use and mental health challenges. We have 18 beds, and it's absolutely my purpose. I'm very lucky to say, after decades of searching,
That's nice to hear.
that I'm where I'm meant to be.
That's really nice.
It's a great program.
And I'm hearing this from you for the first time. We've heard it from other guests who work here. Is that they found their niche finally?
Yes.
And they're happy. And it's wonderful to help people who are struggling with addiction and then trying to maintain recovery at the same time. So what we have you on here today is because please correct me because you're the expert, I'm not an expert, is sort of a new kind of movement, you can almost call it like that.
Yes.
On trying to help families
Yes.
who are struggling with addiction and all that. And so it's called Shatterproof, correct?
That's the name of the organization.
Okay,
Yes.
so let's go for it. Tell me about it.
Okay.
It's all yours.
All right. I'll do a little bit of kind of ad-libbing and then reading
Sure,
from
that's fine.
what I have about the organization in front of me. So I ran across Shatterproof accidentally online, and it's one of those things where it was meant to be. It was timely. I was searching for information about addiction, and the story of a father who had recently lost his son to a heroin overdose. And what really stuck out to me, he is the founder of this nonprofit. What stood out to me was his telling a story that his son was struggling. It was very secret. They didn't know who to turn to. And at the same time, I think it was even a friend of his son's was struggling with cancer. And he shares about what it was like to be a father with a son who was struggling in secret, no support, nowhere to turn, and watch cars pulling up to the driveway of the other family, dropping off casseroles, offering support, spending time with his wife and other children. And I thought, I get that.
Right.
I get that. That was my experience too. So as I looked more and more into the organization, I thought I have to be involved. And my very first interaction with them was the Shatterproof Walk 3 years ago. It was the first one that they were offering in Boston. It's a fundraiser, and it was in Franklin, part of Boston. And it was so powerful to be surrounded by people in recovery, families in recovery, who were saying, we're here, pay attention, we have a lot to say, we are not invisible.
Wow.
In fact, we're taking our young adults there September 22nd.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yes,
Okay.
and that will be the third annual walk.
Wow. That would have an impact, I would think.
They're very much looking forward to that,
Oh, I bet.
as are some of their family members.
Oh, I bet.
And so that was my first interaction with them, and my husband and my children, we wanted more. So as I followed them and have watched what they've done, in a very short time they've done a lot, but one of the things that they announced maybe 18 months ago, I don't know if I have my timeline exactly correct, was that they were in the beginning stages of putting together a panel and then piloting a family curriculum, family engagement curriculum.
Okay.
And that was another, oh, wow, I didn't even know something like that would ever exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched that, paid attention, and then came, we're ready to train facilitators. So I was the first one to sign up in Massachusetts. I think I drove 100 miles an hour down to New Jersey to do the training.
Wow, okay, New Jersey. And that's where they're based.
And that is where the base for the curriculum program is. Mm-hmm.
Wow, so you instantly got a passion going.
Yes, it was probably, it just spoke to me. I can't really explain it.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that I wish that I had had when I was going through my experience. I have a son who passed away from a heroin overdose. So when we get to, talking about the importance of family in the recovery of a loved one, what that looks like, what options there are, I really knew quite little. My son's struggle was very short, very, very short, too short really, to wrap my mind around what exists. And I don't want anyone to ever have to go through that. There's more and more resources out there than ever before.
True.
So that's what I bring today in terms of how I got here.
Because you have great material.
Yes.
What separates Shatterproof from, let's say, any other, I guess, family engagement curriculum out there?
Right. It's a great question. I think it just layers on. Let me back up. It's not group therapy. It's not family therapy. It's knowledge. So it's kind of that knowledge is power. When, for the very short time that I was going through my experience, there was Al-Anon that was suggested to me and other things like that. I wasn't ready. I was kind of in my own paralyzed state. So the idea of walking into a room of strangers, I'm not good at that anyway, let alone during a troubling time. What appealed to me about this, and maybe it's because I love to learn anyway, was that it's evidence-based. There's 12 components to it. It was not, it was an option to take, to learn and understand more, and then get a broader understanding of what your options are. It just felt less scary to me.
Okay.
So I think
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think for me, that's what I like about it. The other thing I like about the model, besides the fact that the information and material, again, is evidence-based, really dense, a lot of good stuff in there, is that it was co-facilitated and will be co-facilitated by both a clinician and a family member.
Okay, so
and I
that is
really
very
like
different.
that. I really like that model.
Okay. So clinical experience versus life experience coming together. That is a different approach. Wow. So let's keep going.
Okay. So I went down and did the training and didn't want to leave after the weekend. Anne, who is the national trainer, and obviously had a huge hand in this is her baby. I just didn't want to leave. And again, I was on the other side. And I had also already started working at the young adult program. And at the young adult program, of course you do family engagement.
Sure.
And that's a big part of my role, is reaching out to families. So, I didn't want to leave. Came back, kept going through the material, and then thought, how can we bring this to the community? That was always my intention. Again, as I looked around more locally, I couldn't find a model like this. So we're in the beginning stages of really being able to offer this. They have collected data, they have piloted it, they have gotten feedback from families who just want more and more.
So what a great launch then. I mean, people are looking for this. Families are destitute, looking for more help. And here we go. So we have something going.
Yes, and in fact, Gary writes here, after Brian's death, he was shocked about how the disease of addiction is treated in America. Research exists that could have saved his son and countless others like him, but it's not implemented throughout communities and healthcare systems. Gary founded Shatterproof to provide support and evidence-based resources for families, ensuring that they would not have to suffer the same pain and anguish that his family endured.
And all these other families that have endured. Wow. Okay. So now you are a trainer, correct?
Yes.
For, because you went, how long was the training, by the way?
It was, 3 days?
Okay, so that's intensive.
Right, all day.
Okay. So what's the next step, for instance, if at, for instance, New England Recovery Center and all of these places right here on the campus in Westbrook, how would you go forth and start going? How would you implement it?
Thank you for asking. We are actually going to launch this here at Spectrum, September 28th and 29th. We'll be offering it to all the surrounding communities.
So it's open?
It's open, certainly to families that might have a loved one on campus right now, just to enhance what they may already be doing. The national trainer, Anne, will be doing the first day.
Wow.
So that's really exciting.
Okay, so that's a big thing.
That is a big thing. So she's coming up from New Jersey and she'll do the first day and I'll be there with her doing the training. And she's fantastic. So that's, I'm sure, going to be a great experience for people to get to know her because I know I was impacted just spending 3 days with her.
So we're going to go over the logistics
Sure.
and open it up to the public, obviously, whoever wants to come in for that training. So, okay, you said impact. How did it impact you? Because I'm sorry to interrupt, it's just like a family member is going to say, well, how is that going to be different from what else is being done about families?
She presents the information in a way that, for myself, feels non-threatening, very knowledgeable, organized,
Okay.
easy to understand, gives you hope. You know, there is treatment, and that's not new.
Right.
That's not new. I think this is an incredibly exciting time in treatment because people are willing to come out of the shadows, talk more about it, but also spread the message that this is treatable. You don't have to suffer. And that your loved one will thrive even more if you're involved in the process.
Wow.
So the impact I guess she had on me was there is hope, there is treatment. Yes, families can and should be involved.
Absolutely, I agree.
In my, as a child, we had some family members who struggled. I had a grandparent who struggled with alcoholism. And it was one of those unspoken, kind of spoken things that he's bad, he's out of control, he's dangerous. And I remember being 5, 6, 7, and grandpa comes along and wants to take you up to the candy store. And I wouldn't go. I was scared of him.
Sure.
And that is just not the way it is at all.
Why?
Because, first of all, if someone has a disease and they are not supported and they are made to feel like the people who they love the most
Are shunning them.
what would inspire them to recover?
Or give them hope.
Or give them hope?
Okay.
I just felt like this was hopeful, it made sense, it was comprehensive. I started my career as a teacher, so even my concept and understanding of what evidence-based means, I've been teaching from curriculum since I was 22 years old. I'm sure that's part of what had an impact on me, the model, the teaching model.
So the teaching model, and looking for the folks who are watching, evidence-based simply means it's research-based. It's been proven that it does work, it's laid out there, so it's not just a flash in the pan or a trendy thing. So I just wanted to clarify for folks watching.
Sure. So I don't know if that answers your question about the impact that
No, it does.
Anne
It
had
does.
on me.
Because that story,
Mhm.
your story, told me what the impact. It's also, it sounds like it's destigmatizing a lot of the struggle, a lot of the access to get help.
Absolutely.
You're not alone.
No,
And I know we say that a lot in addiction treatment. We don't want folks to be alone.
no.
But what you just said, it made a lot of sense to me and impactful for me.
Mhm.
That, wow, if your loved ones are taught to shun.
Mhm.
So imagine if somebody had another disease and they were taught to shun that disease too. How would that person struggling make them feel?
Right,
Okay.
right. And then what we know about genetics
Mm-hmm.
and how powerful and important the role is for family members and loved ones. I don't want to minimize it or make it sound more simple than it is, because it's incredibly complex.
Right.
Family systems are complex.
No, I agree. You're not, I don't think you are. I think you're nailing it here right now.
I felt while I was sitting there that I was almost being given a script.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I would have come out of the training as a parent working with a loved one and have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd have that foundation, and hopeful is fuel.
Mm-hmm.
That's fuel. If we don't have hope, then
there is no fuel.
right, exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, as a parent myself, I was an educator. I worked with students every day.
Mhm.
That's how I started my career. Interestingly, I've always had a heart for those that struggle. So I started out in special education.
Mhm.
Probably no surprise that many decades ago, in special education, working in a behavioral classroom, in fact, my biggest interest in family systems came from two different teaching years. My first teaching year, completely young, new, naive, 22 years old. I leave Massachusetts for the first time in my life. I'm a military wife. I am down in Maryland, and my first class is 12 third, fourth, and fifth graders, the behavioral class, which was out in a trailer away from the main building.
Great.
Think about just
that alone,
the symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
And the principal said to me, "Welcome, we're so glad you're here. We're really excited to see what you have to bring. And we know that you'll be doing a great job when we don't see you, and we don't see them, and we don't hear from you, and we don't hear from them."
So silent.
Silent.
Means
invisible.
Fine. Invisible.
Invisible.
We don't want to know, which is good. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Then, here I had these 12 just beautiful, delicious young kids. 10, no surprise, are boys. And I have all my reading books and everything that I'm going to do. And 30 days in, I start to get a sense that they are hungry. They're wearing the same clothes every day. There are no fathers. Mothers are struggling. Some mothers are not coming home. So fourth graders are arriving in school with a big bag of Doritos, wearing the clothes they were wearing the night before, and where many new teachers would find themselves overwhelmed. The interesting thing is, I don't want to be seen. I don't think he wants to hear from me, the principal. I don't want them to be seen. I'm in this trailer. I have to figure this out.
So rock and a hard place.
Rock and a hard place. The nice thing, there was a benefit to it, which is that I could kind of do what I felt like I needed to do.
Mhm.
And if no one's paying attention, there were no tests back then. I don't know what they had, but it didn't have anything to do with their outcomes. No one was that interested, sadly. But this was decades ago, and thank goodness a lot has changed since then. I could just really meet them where they were. And so literally that meant, let's set up a hygiene center. Instead of a reading center, we're gonna have a hygiene center. We're gonna have a nutritional snack center. I had a great education at Boston College, and that certainly helped me in so many ways. But really, the first 4 months was caretaking, nurturing, safety, a safe, warm, trusting environment.
So I'm seeing a parallel here.
That's why I'm sharing it. There is a parallel.
And it's tremendous.
It is. And when I look back now, I'll just say it, 30 years, I was doing trauma-informed care and I didn't even know it.
A lot of us were, didn't know it.
Right. I didn't even know what trauma was. And I didn't look at them as if they had trauma. I just was meeting them where they were. I did not know by doing that they would start liking coming to school. They would, 3 o'clock would come and they'd not want to leave.
Wow.
That their behaviors would settle. That they were motivated to please and do well. That was my first real desire to understand family systems, because one, I became curious. When I sit with clients now in the group room and look at 18 of them, I see 18 stories.
Yeah.
I may not know all of their stories, but I don't just see someone sitting in front of me. I see someone who comes with 18 to 25 years of stories, some suffering, and that informs how I work with them.
Interesting.
Backing up to that first year of teaching, I called every parent every week. I let them know all the strengths and great things that their children were doing. Well, it didn't take long for them to want to come in, start spending time with us. We started Fun Friday. Parents were coming every Friday. They were engaging with their children and their children were engaging with them. And I don't know that they had a place to do that with other families that were experiencing similar challenges with their children. And one of the few times I saw the principal was, how are you getting these moms to come in every Friday? What's going on?
Right. To me, that's amazing. Magic.
Family engagement for treatment and recovery from addiction is the same.
Yep.
We want them to come in.
Yep.
We want them to know that their presence alone is important. Also, family members need their own recovery.
Sure.
That was something else that I learned from Shatterproof. That I could get help and support for myself. And that was only going to help my child.
Right.
So we understand, certainly at Spectrum, but Shatterproof too, that right now you might not have all the tools. Right now you might be angry, understandably so. We would expect that there's been a breakdown in communication, feeling hopeless, but we can work with that.
Okay.
Stay on board.
And you mentioned family and family systems, so and I'm just shifting around because
Sure.
I'm getting into this now. Okay, not everybody has what they call a nuclear family, so Shatterproof doesn't care. So it's whoever they identify as their
Loved
family.
ones, yes.
Okay.
So Shatterproof, but also the family engagement that we do here, we will invite, and it's not even us, I mean, we want our loved ones to invite. They give us permission to invite, not only biological families, we have foster parents come in, we have girlfriends come in, we have young children, so we have 4 fathers right now. You know, how do we get them fathering? We have, we just got a book, I wish I could remember the name of it, sorry.
It's okay.
But it's Fathering After Being Fatherless.
Oh, okay.
So just read that book, and these 4 young fathers can't wait to read it.
Wow.
But to your point, genetics doesn't mean that that's someone that you're either ready to have support you and be involved, or is the right person right now.
Right. But you kept saying that Shatterproof meets people where they're at.
Yes. Yes.
So it doesn't matter then. You meet them where they're at. Are they a little ready, not a whole lot ready, in between? It doesn't matter.
Right. This curriculum too, while it says that it's right on here, family programs, there's nothing stopping guidance counselors, social workers, pastors, police.
From learning this.
Yes, they could all come too.
Because it's an approach.
It's an approach, it's evidence-based.
It's not therapy, like you
It's
said.
not therapy. When I just think about our community police and EMS and.
Everybody who's involved with families.
Right.
Teachers.
Teachers, of course. Teachers are on the front lines. I just saw a statistic that said right now, 7.5 million children are living with at least one family member who is experiencing addiction, if not 2. But what really I was moved by was that it said the majority of those 7.5 million children are under 5. So the educator in me, the special educator in me, the mother in me, what do we know about education, early intervention? It's had me thinking the last couple of days, how do we reach out to those families who have children under 5 and say, hey, we can help you now. We can help you with communication, even if you're in recovery.
We got some info for you that you can use.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So again, it's not scary. No. It's not mystical, voodoo, weird stuff.
No.
It's just, what's the best word? Helpful pointers and tips, but with an approach that makes you feel safe too, because you mentioned that earlier, for safety.
Naturally, once you are sitting, the program is about, well, the weekend, the intensive weekend that we'll do, it'll be 2 full days, the Saturday and the Sunday, about 9:30 to 5:30.
Okay.
Of course, people are welcome to share their stories. We highly encourage that. That's another reason why when the weekend was over for myself, I didn't want to leave.
Right.
We stayed in the parking lot. We kept talking. We were exchanging phone numbers, and we were being trained to be facilitators.
Okay.
So there is an opportunity to not only learn, but also connect with other families.
That's fantastic. So you're building a network with other families, maybe
Yes.
with teachers, whoever shows up
Right.
for this training,
Right.
quite frankly. Oh, this is going to be a very good thing, I think.
I hope so. And Al-Anon and all
Learn to
those
cope and all
other
the others.
models are great. Yes, learn to
There are
cope,
other tools.
smart recovery, yeah, all of that. It's great. But taking a little bit from each is only going to empower the family member more. It's no different than when our clients come in and they're creating their treatment plan and they're deciding through their own self-determination, but also our support, what direction they want to go in. We are taking a client to a refuge recovery. Right now, 12 steps not for him. That's fine.
So that's very, what they call person-centered. Not, oh, the program, this is, you have to do it according to the program.
Right.
No, it's based on the person.
Right, so I think what Shatterproof does is they jump into that pool and say, we're here, we exist, this may be something that will really enhance your knowledge base. And all of those other models are great too.
Cool. So now, okay, you have everything here.
I do, I have everything here.
What can you throw out to the folks watching to tantalize them, saying, look at this is how cool this is?
Okay, I'll show you the first thing I got
Sure.
excited about. But this is again the teacher in me.
That's great.
Shatterproof created this beautiful family programs manual. And so when they come, everybody gets one. And instead of taking oodles and oodles of notes on plain notebook paper, you don't have to, because everything is in here. It's beautiful.
Nice graphics too.
It's
the way it's
beautiful graphics. There's also, we have videos.
Okay.
Another part of the curriculum that I really appreciate is there's lots of resources on the website for families. So there's more learning, there's more updated evidence-based information. So that it's not a one and done. It's not I'm taking this and I'm leaving, and that's all I have access to. Shatterproof is more than just a family curriculum, like I said.
Right.
They're working nationally in many, many ways, and people can get a sense of that when they go onto the website. But you feel like you're joining not just this, but you're joining a family that's on the website that you can count on, that is keeping you up to date legislatively.
Wow.
In terms of what's happening.
Does the website, and again, help me out, does it allow for folks, families, them to communicate with each other? Post something or blog or any of that?
Yes. Yes, there will be, for the families that come to this weekend, they will be on a Facebook together.
Wow, okay. I think that's powerful too.
Yes, right.
Wow. So the more communication we have out there, the better, because then folks can say, hey, it's a network. It's not just, like you said, one and done. It's ongoing. Oh, that's tremendous. Okay. Okay.
So I really liked this. This really appealed to me. I felt like I could pay attention. I didn't have to take notes. I wasn't going to miss information.
Right.
So it was all right here. So this is really, really nice. And then they break it into 12 areas that they cover. And no surprise, the very first area is the disease of addiction.
Okay.
And the second area is impact of addiction. Talk about the emotional roller coaster.
Okay, we do talk at times about impact, but I bet you this is going to be a lot more, well, impactful, if you want to use another word.
We could use that.
Right, a lot. That's okay, because the impact on family members, like you said, it's the individual who's struggling and suffering. Family members are struggling and suffering too.
Sure.
At the same time.
Right.
So now, at least, it's coming out into the open as well that everyone's involved here from the struggle, if that makes sense.
Of course, right, yeah. I remember seeing this ahead of time, waiting for it to start, and seeing this emotional roller coaster, and then these areas, worry, thoughts that won't go away, loss of sleep, embarrassment and shame, day-to-day functioning, effects on family relationships, anxiety, depression, guilt. It validated, but also normalized my experience in so many ways. So I felt like, okay, I'm not alone. It's evidence-based. This is how other parents feel.
This was taken from probably hundreds and hundreds of other families.
Yes, probably thousands.
Probably thousands, and it means, yes, if they all had the same things, then you aren't alone, and no one's alone then.
Yes.
Or you don't have to be. How's
You
that?
don't have to be. You don't have to be. And when your loved one is going through such a challenging time, as parents raising children, we're taught to be regulated, present, functioning. And that's not how I felt a lot of the time. I found it really hard to stay regulated.
Mhm.
When your child isn't coming home at night, you don't know where they are, yeah, there's loss of sleep.
Mhm.
You're losing sleep,
Mhm.
you're not going to function really fantastically the next day.
No.
Either at your job, or as a parent to your other children, or in your relationship, in your marriage.
Mhm.
So it has these tentacles that just.
So without even looking there, it probably reaches out to anxiety.
Mhm.
There's depression, sadness, volatility of your emotions, because anger,
Sure.
and anger maybe out of family members, partners, whatever.
Mhm.
So it is tentacles, like
Right.
you just said.
Right.
Wow.
Just knowing that I wasn't failing as a mother, that this is the norm
Mhm.
for someone who cares about
Mhm.
or loves someone else that has this disease,
Mhm.
that you are going to feel this way.
Mhm.
And yes, you are entitled to also take care of yourself during this time.
Mhm.
So I think too, and I can only speak from the platform of a mother, we're just primitively wired to do whatever we have to do.
Right.
And it's no, we know, I mean, we all know that this is life or death.
Exactly. But now, let's say there are mothers, fathers, parents, loved ones, whomever, who tried whatever they knew how,
Mhm.
and then said, I'm giving up, I'm burned out,
Mhm.
I'm giving up.
Right.
How does Shatterproof help that, or does it talk about that?
They have support groups.
So they do as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, yes.
Because when you started kind of grinning a little bit, spin off on that now. What else can you say to those folks who are saying, they burned my bridge, I burned my bridge, I'm so burned out. I tried with my son for 30 years,
Mhm.
let's say,
Mhm.
and I'm still.
Mhm.
And so because again, I'm telling the audience,
Right.
Shatterproof, how can that make that person want to come back and try to figure themselves out, but also maybe help their loved one out, if the loved one's still out there?
Shatterproof has great resources
Mhm.
that they also know are evidence-based.
Mhm.
So they will happily point you in that direction. Again, for me, recognizing that part of the way that I could help my son the best was to step back and take care of myself.
Mhm.
It's put the oxygen mask on.
Mhm. First, right?
First.
I like that.
That's what it is.
Okay.
The Shatterproof walk, I think, is a beautiful example of what the message of Shatterproof is.
Mhm.
Come out, you're not alone. Yes, there's pain and suffering,
Mhm.
and yes, there's loss.
Mhm.
There are victories, so many
Mhm.
victories.
Mhm.
Come here and see them. They will speak. They will tell you their story. It's not all gloom and doom.
Mhm.
So for the parent who is burnt out, lean on us.
Mhm.
Come be with us. Because when you're burnt out, I might be stronger.
Mhm.
And when I'm burnt out, I want to know that I can lean on you.
Mhm.
When I did my first Shatterproof walk, I was with my husband, my children. My best friend lost her brother 6 days after I lost my son, which was a horrible tragedy for both of us to go through, but a gift that we went through it together.
Mhm.
I don't know how many people can,
Mhm.
it's just, what are the odds?
That's
Really?
what are the odds?
What are the odds?
Mhm.
So I was with her and her family, and so my vision was we're going to do this walk, and we raised money in my son's name, and that was really important and powerful. I ended up doing the entire walk with a stranger.
Huh.
I don't know where my kids are. Thank goodness for my husband. I did not see them. because
You had a connection.
I connected with another mother.
Mhm.
We talked the entire time. That experience walking 3.1 miles with another mother, a stranger.
Mhm.
Both of us
Right.
were emotional.
Right.
Which means that when we go to the grocery store, when we go to a school,
Yeah.
when we go to a birthday party,
Mhm.
when we go out to dinner, there's someone else there
That's right.
that is living and experiencing exactly what you are.
But maybe in the shadows.
Yes. We need to meet up, we need to talk. So where do we go to do that? And there are great models for that.
Mhm.
I just needed this one first.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because I was already in shock, not really capable of talking, not ready to talk.
Sure. You were
Not
ready.
knowing what I could say, couldn't say.
That's right.
And this gave me the platform to start learning and then have the courage to start talking.
I think you just differentiated Shatterproof now from other family programs. They're all good,
Yes.
but you differentiated the approach
Mhm.
just to me now.
Okay.
And I hope to everybody watching as
Okay.
well, that that makes sense now.
Okay.
That you're meeting the person where they are, ready, at this level doesn't matter.
Right.
And you're also making sure that this is now networked, that you're not alone. You're taking the person out of the shadows, saying, you mom, you dad, whomever you are, loved one,
Yes.
you're not alone.
Yes.
Come on out.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So when is the next walk? I know you had mentioned
September 22nd.
September 22nd.
Get on the website,
Okay.
register.
And what's the website?
Shatterproof.
Org?
Org.
I don't know that. I'm asking you.
Or com, I get all confused. You'll
I'm
find
sure
it.
you
You'll
can
find
find
it.
it. Google
It'll come right up.
Yeah.
It'll come right up. So you just register. They just want to know how many people are coming. There are speakers. We've had Governor Baker there. We've
Wow.
had presidents of insurance companies there who speak. Someone always tells their story.
Mhm.
It's really exciting. Again, just to hear from other people and be in a sea of human beings
Of other folks.
and see on their t-shirts loved ones that they are honoring.
Mhm.
And then go and do this walk. And you can run it, by the way. You can run it. They let the runners go first. And then walkers. And I only say that because now I'm thinking of a couple of our clients who are getting ready to run.
Wow.
But I'm glad that that helped differentiate it.
For me, it did. I think that makes it that much different. And now it's a great other resource to add to a family, because we do family engagement
Sure.
at Spectrum, at
Yes.
Windward Recovery, at Farris, and all of those places.
Mhm.
This is just one extra tool now that we didn't have before, maybe.
Mhm.
And now it's becoming a complete tool chest.
And it's comprehensive. It's all together.
Wow.
So you walk away with something very comprehensive.
Wow.
Mhm.
So, okay. Now, families are going to say, well, where can we go and find a Shatterproof program?
Mhm.
How do we answer that?
We answer that by saying come September 28th or September 29th. If it really speaks to you,
Mhm.
we are looking for more facilitators and more trainers. This is really in its infancy.
Mhm.
In that way, it's challenging
Mhm.
because we don't have a lot of
Folks here.
folks yet. And so we don't have a lot of workshops and trainings. And
But you had mentioned
Mhm.
that, okay, this is not just clinical for clinical people.
right,
This is for anybody,
it's for anybody.
anybody.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, for a police officer, an insurance agent who has family and is struggling,
Right.
teachers,
Yes.
anybody.
Yes.
Wow. That's also a differentiator, because a lot of other family programs are geared for the clinician to talk to the family member, and that's it.
Mhm.
Here, it's opening up to the public,
It really is.
to humanity.
Yes.
Okay, that's another piece for me that I just learned
Mhm.
of how it's done.
Yes.
Okay, the 28th and
28th and 29th, I believe that's Saturday and Sunday, right here in Ferris. Registration will be on the Shatterproof website.
okay.
So if you go into family programs, there'll be a link and a way to register for here. It's $20 per person they're asking, but we're scholarshiping people.
Okay.
We have people coming also that weekend that want to see it in action before they go through the training themselves. So I know that there are people lining up very hungry. They're either a family member or a clinician who also want to use this to enhance everything else that they're doing.
Sure.
Right. Yeah, so
Here's a third piece.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just leaning off this. Is because this is open and it's meant to be for anybody, that it differentiates it as well. Again, meaning it's learning some tools of how to deal, to manage, to cope, to pull the stigma away, all of that stuff. Not therapy, it's not clinical to that degree.
It's not even a support group.
Right. So it's different than Learn to Cope, which is a support group.
Right.
Different than Al-Anon.
Right.
Also, this is an approach to how to live through it and get past it and have a good life as well.
Yes. There were many times, and I felt ashamed to share this for a long time. So I'm an introvert by nature. There are many times I pulled up to multiple churches to go to Al-Anon, and I just couldn't walk in. I'm not the only introvert in the world.
No, you're not. There are many of them.
No. So there's a safety in this. That's what I needed. I could walk into any Al-Anon meeting now.
Wow.
Because I understand the disease better, I understand treatment better, I understand myself better. Because I know what it's like to walk with a mother and have that connection and how powerful meeting a stranger can be. But being an introvert, walking into a room of strangers would never have been something.
You climb up and you're scared and you don't want to even set foot sometimes.
Or you're keeping it secret.
Right.
You're working really, really hard to keep it secret. And if you are, for a long time it was kept secret because I know this is how I felt, but I've also heard from many other families now that is a way of protecting your loved one. So as parents, keeping the secret is one of many things we were trying to do to help our loved one be well.
But that's also, there's an old adage in treatment and in AA and all the other support that guilt and shame can kill. And this dispels that.
It really does. There are, having worked in high schools, there are still high schools where parents, and I was an adjustment counselor in some high schools, are absolutely not going to let anyone know that their son is suicidal. So, I mean, the mental health part is really important too. Cutting, maybe has an eating disorder, child, let alone may have an addiction. They will transport and send their child away and keep it under wraps, which I find interesting because if we send a child away, states away, how are we going to do family engagement?
There isn't.
Right. That's what happened to That was my experience.
Mhm.
I honestly didn't really even know what heroin was.
Mhm.
So I would not have known the signs. They were all there now looking back.
Mhm.
Again, I think it's a good time to share too that after you lose a child, there's so much if I only, regret, now more shame,
Mhm. More guilt.
more guilt. I didn't know the signs.
Mhm.
There was someone who came to me who told me,
Mhm.
this is what's happening, this is what's going on. Very lovingly, very supportive. And I was just in shock.
Mhm.
So luckily, she made the phone calls. I didn't even know what to do. And she did it for me, which I think is another wonderful way we can support families.
Mhm.
I'll help you make that call.
Yep.
I'll go with you.
It doesn't have to be a clinical person.
No.
It can be a supportive person of any kind.
Right, absolutely. So she set it up, and I will be forever grateful.
Mhm.
One of the things that I learned was he went to the Cape while family day was on Saturdays, and I worked on Saturdays.
Wow.
And they were not flexible
Mhm.
about me coming on Sundays.
So how do you engage? You can't.
We didn't. That is another thing that I love about Spectrum. We have our visiting hours on Sundays.
Mhm.
We offer family engagement on Sundays.
Mhm.
But we let our community know that anything, the sky's the limit. If this is someone
Mhm.
who we know is going to enhance your journey, we will make it happen. If your mother works 2 jobs and the only time she can come is 9 to 10 on Saturday, you got it. We're gonna make it happen. And I didn't have that experience.
Mhm. And you said also a powerful word to me,
Mhm.
The journey,
Mhm.
because this is a journey.
It is a journey. There's no quick fix.
No quick fix. And the journey may go on and on. That's okay.
That is okay.
Wow.
There's many diseases that go on and on.
Of course, and we all poke fun at the adage, oh, life is a journey. It is a journey with all its trials and tribulations. But now, for those trials and tribulations, the bad stuff, we have more resources now than ever before. Wow. So families will be able to find a Shatterproof program, hopefully. Well, they can certainly come by becoming part of the entire movement, the approach.
Right.
On the 28th, 29th of September.
Right.
And thereafter, what would you ideally like to see
I would like to
happen with Shatterproof?
I'll tell you, in terms of this program and the benefit that I think that it offers to communities around us, I would love to have a wait list and of people that need this
Mhm.
and that we're offering it as much as we need to. We can obviously offer it here, that's great, but churches and there's
It's open.
It's open, schools.
Mhm.
I would like to see schools.
I would love to see that in
Me
schools
too.
of different degrees. I would like to see that in colleges.
Right, and we know that schools want resources in the school. I mean, look at what Chris Herron is
Right.
doing and the impact that he's having on schools. My daughter just ran for Chris Herron's team, the Falmouth race, for the weekend. So I got to spend the weekend with the executive director of the Herron Project and yeah, I mean, schools are begging for anything that'll help families.
Mhm.
So if we have lots of groups running.
Mhm.
That means we are connecting a lot more people. Less people are feeling alone.
Mhm.
If I had 5 people I knew and trusted to wrap my arms with, I would have walked into an Al-Anon meeting. This was just how I needed to start.
Mhm.
The reverse is also true. People attending Al-Anon,
Sure.
that's a really, really important place for them to be supported
Mhm.
and shared. This adds on to what they're
Right. Another tool
doing.
that is a tremendously powerful tool. That's what it sounds like to me.
Right.
Wow. I could see this in, I don't know if it is, even in state agencies.
Of course,
But I could see it going there.
of course.
Why not?
Why not?
It's just more resource.
Mhm.
And again, the other, for me, the takeaway is the approach tells folks, don't be afraid of this.
Mhm.
You're not alone. And it's safe.
Families can also do this together.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And
To build resiliency, you mean?
Shatterproof is encouraging that.
Okay.
So let's say that a sister
Mhm.
to a loved one comes with a mother. Now you have 2 people that have a platform, a foundation, a language that they're sharing together.
Mhm.
To see teenagers, they're used to sitting in a classroom.
Mhm.
This is a very familiar model
Sure.
for a teenager or a college-aged
Mhm.
sibling
Mhm.
who would be willing to give up a weekend maybe away from school.
Right.
Because they feel helpless and they want to know what to do for their brother, their sister. This is a great way to spend a weekend
Okay.
and have a better sense of,
Right.
what do I do as a sister? What do I do as a brother?
Right.
So my son's sister was in New York at the time,
Mhm.
living in New York City. And she would have loved
Mhm.
to have had the experience
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
coming with me
Right.
and understanding. And because she has her own experience of what it was like to
Okay.
feel helpless,
Everybody's perception is different.
to have, had a better understanding of how to meet him where he was.
I love it. Shatterproofing families. I love it. I have a feeling that I'm going to be asking you to come back in so many months.
Okay,
And,
update you?
yeah, I would love
Okay.
to have that. Okay, quick takeaway
Yes.
because we're wrapping up.
Okay,
The date again for the training?
28th, 29th of September.
Okay, and that's going to be here at the Farris Center here in Westboro, Mass.
Yes, beautiful facility.
And the walk,
The walk, September 22nd, it's a must.
and you register on the website.
You register on the website for the walk and for
The training as
this
well.
family training.
So Shatterproof.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you folks as well. We'll see you next time as well. Take care. Perfect.